We came to Canada, Yopi and me, in 1967, April. And about a week later, lo and behold, we're already in Spences Bridge fishing. My brother Fritz, he just lives down the road here, came in 57 and started to fish the Thompson River. He was a steelhead fan. 67 we were here. Our first experience was with the Ellingsons across the river here, staying in their house, and it was a house that was full with 8 kids. Wasn't much room there, so we slept under the kitchen table. The Ellingson family, talking about the railroad, operated on our side here, and that's the CP side, the old side then. Operated the ticket office, believe it or not. You could actually board the train right in front of the door here. That's right, yeah. Thor. He ran the ticket office, and so that was our first experience with the railroad here. The platform has disappeared. It's not there any longer. So we're living in a railroad town, the CP side, the CN side, and we call it, or the whole family actually calls it white noise. Doesn't bother you any longer. As a matter for a lot of our kids, we got 3 sons, come over regular. Actually, Rob is living in Spences Bridge now, and it's very comforting for a lot of people. Some people, well, they don't like the noise. So we've been living with the railroad since we bought this place in 1990, and we've been residents on and off, lived on the coast because that's where work was. That's another drawback actually for Spences Bridge. In the early days, all employment for a lot of people was the railroad, right? Which it's not any longer really. The odd one, I think, in Spences Bridge is still employed with the railroad. Apart from our foundation, which is kind of slowly disappearing towards the river, and that's got a lot to do with the railroad. And there is on our side some complaint about it. Not much left of our foundation here, so we're kind of blocking it now, and that's probably the only way to save the place is we're gonna have some serious timbering done underneath. And the funny thing is, our cousin came from Dawson City, and he came back with, that's actually how it is done there because of the muskeg there. Everything is on jacks. Our house is on jacks here. So that's caused by the railroad mainly, and because we're living on a riverbank here, and that's what it wants to do. It all wants to walk to the river, and we got chunks of concrete from here to the Y 8 feet long that literally walked away from where it was supposed to be. Yeah, so it's quite a story. But all in all, we enjoy the railroad. Maybe on our side, when they're rearranging it, we kind of don't appreciate the deaf engineer and the blind helper, because it's like a war zone sometimes when they start working and they leave the cars here and then they pick them up again. And I know it's kind of a tough game to join them up, because with 4-inch slack and couplings you can figure out it takes a bit of a timing. But yeah, if you ever hear when we have the deaf engineer and the blind helper, we call it, yeah, it's kind of a joke. She can be noisy, but all in all, when the grandchildren come over, we play the coin game, and that is they go in the little box and they got the pennies out and put them on the railroad and waited for the train, and they've got a whole collection of all these flattened out coins. They're actually pretty unique, you know. So the grandchildren truly enjoy the trains, you know, when they go by, and So that's basically part of our story, you know. And yeah, see where it's all going. There was some talk of expanding all this. We would not agree to that at all, you know. More cars. We already are 5 deep, you know, railroad-wise, you know. And sometimes it kind of, and that's another part of the story, we get all our drinking water right across the railroad here out of the hills. It's beautiful spring water. And but I always have to watch out that they haven't blocked the railroad crossing, and then the other couple of weeks ago on my last load, every 2 weeks I pretty well go in the hills and fill up the 19-liter ones. I actually, for the first time, phoned the railroad because they already had it blocked off for 3 days, and I'm running out of water. So I phoned them. They're very good about it. Within 2 hours, 3 hours, they had a crew over to break the train open, because that's all they had to do there. They always do that. They break it and they leave it so we can get across. And the waterworks got to get up to the tank too. You know, it's a private crossing, but that's where our tank is. And apparently, we're going to get hooked up here to this tank. I don't know quite the story there, so we crossed our crossing here, and that I needed for the first time to phone them if they could maybe open it up, and they responded right away. You know, people would wonder why would we get water out of the hills. Well, that's a story about itself, and we just came to Spences Bridge, especially my dad there. Up in the hills, he just loved the water in Spences Bridge. Came from Murray Creek, untreated, you know, and yes, everybody took a bit of the chance with the beaver fever, but I'd rather have beaver fever than drink this water, because you can't drink it. It's only good for bathing, and that's what we use it for. Our drinking water comes out of the spring here, and that's just awesome water. A 2-ton rock as big as the table here is squeezing my water line, and that's another reason. Actually, the first time I found the railroad, because I thought the rock became a danger. It separated from the hills by about, oh, probably 18 inches now, and I know it's going to come downhill. So that's another time. Actually, the first time I found them, that this might be a concern for the railroad. And so they came out, 2 of them looked at it and say, well, first of all, it's Crown land. They can't really work there. Secondly, they didn't think it was that great a concern. Well, I figured if this rock lets go, he's going to go all of it to the railroad and take out some of their cars there. But they looked at it and they figured it's okay, but she's got to come down. Well, here we're looking across the railroad track. We're looking at the cars and the graffiti. Some of it is absolutely incredible. The design for some of it is something else. I'm looking at a car here, and the second word definitely is legal. Welp, I don't get this one, but graffiti on the cars is just incredible art, some of it, and quite often I want to make kind of shots and put it, nowadays you would probably put it on the internet. Hey Rob. On the internet you could have hundreds of different shots of different art pieces. Some of it is absolute stunning. Must have taken them hours or days maybe. Mind you, these cars sometimes are parked for days.
Carolynne Terry, and I moved here about 1.5 years ago from the city of Calgary. The reason why we came to Spences Bridge was, number one, the weather, of course. Number two was the trains. The fact that my husband is very much an avid train spotter and has loved the trains for a very long time, that he was quite excited that we could find a place to come for our retirement where the trains come and go up both sides of the valley. Since we've been here, I've had a mixed reaction to the trains being so close. The one track, the CN track, being only about 40 yards below us here. In that, in the middle of the night, if we have an overzealous train driver that likes to blow his horn long and hard at 2:30, 4:30 in the morning, it's a little hard to get sleep. I understand that it's a requirement of their job to blow their whistle within a certain parameter, but some of them are a little overzealous. Some of them are very courteous. Some of them just do a little mild little toot toot and they don't even wake you up. You don't even hear it. Our bedroom is on this side of the house, right adjacent to the tracks, and we like to sleep with our window open, even in the mild winters that we have here. And I find that if the train whistle is blown a little too hard and heavy, then it disturbs our sleep, which is a little bit, how shall I put it, aggravating, as best as I can come up with. One particular night that sticks in my mind that I remember that really irritated me was when Loram Maintenance Away, and bear in mind I used to work for Loram in my day in Calgary, came by grinding the rails at 4:30 in the morning with the whole thing lit up like a Christmas tree and blowing his whistle long and hard as he's going by our house, dead slow at 4:30 in the morning. I was not impressed with that at all. That was a little bit overkill, I thought. Is there any particular reason why they had to be doing it at 4:30 in the morning and could not be doing it some other time? They are hired by the train companies to maintain the rails for them. Now I realize that they have a schedule they have to keep. They can only be in certain areas at certain times, but I think that could have been better handled by CN in that case, that if they're going to be that noisy and that loud and that brightly lit, 4:30 in the morning is not a time to be grinding rails in a residential area. That's my opinion. I'm sure that other people would have other opinions about it, but that's how I feel. You remember that, Vern?
I do remember that. Now that was ridiculous.
Oh, something else. You can tell the inexperienced or junior train drivers from the senior ones in the nighttime, because the senior ones tend to be very courteous. They're gentle on the whistle, a light toot toot. Whereas the junior ones, hard and heavy, they've got to impress the boss or whatever, or they figure they're right on time. They figure that they're awake, I guess everybody else should be too. And I've noticed is, in the case of where they're supposed to blow their whistle here at this whistle sign on this side of the bridge that I'm looking at right now, and then they're supposed to blow their whistle a couple more times before they reach our level crossing down quite a ways down from here. Just now, this train that just went by did the long and hard here, but did not blow his whistle again coming to the intersection. It's a fairly unused level crossing. The most activity that we see down there, and I walk down there most days, is that CN is using it. It's not a street or a road that's people are driving across on a regular basis. There's one residence at the end of that road. Other than that, it's a forestry service road that's at the end of that road, and it's not a busy intersection. So the need for the horn blowing in the middle of the night, to me, is a little overkill.
What just happened there, I think, is short of common sense and consideration. You blow your horn on this side of the bridge, nobody down there at that level crossing is hardly ever going to hear it. That's way on down there. Now, after they get beyond the bridge,
Around the bend a bit.
around the bend, towards that level crossing, it would make much more sense if that's where they had to blow their horn to warn people if ever they were at that level crossing or approaching that level crossing. It doesn't matter what time of day, you know, so they're not, if anything ever happened, it's not a lawsuit against the railroad or whatever. I understand that. In the meantime, maybe a little more education from management or whatever from the railroads to the engineers that move these trains down these rails. This town and these level or that level crossing, there's only the one, or even that one over there, which is controlled. Why do they even need to blow their horns over there? Why? It's a controlled crossing.
It's a highway. I don't know.
I know it's a highway, but it's not a number one highway. It's I don't know. I'm only speaking for those people up there at that end of town, but down there, those people at that end of town with that uncontrolled crossing, I don't know. What are you going to do for them? Great highway level crossing there. The head end of the train is already went across the level crossing. Why do those people down there in, you know,
Kumsheen Reserve,
to Kumsheen Reserve have to listen to those guys laying on their horns all the way across that bridge?
Across the Nicola.
Yeah. Why do they do that? That, you know, for those people that are sleeping over there. Once you've gone across the level crossing, then there's no more highway. Why are they still just laying on the horn across, you know, past the level crossing?
Here we go. Incoming again.
Let's watch this guy, see what he does.
Yeah, let's see if he blows his horn correctly.
Let's see if, well, you never know.
You might get it right. You might not whistle at all. Oh, this is CP. Different company. Oh, he's waving. He saw us. He's being courteous.
There! That's where you should be. That's where you should be. Now, he should get it on the horn again.
Yes, right now.
You know, before he gets to that level crossing. Because his horn's doing the most good beyond this bridge. And then if he's on it again a little bit before that level crossing, then that's where it's going to do the most good for the uncontrolled level crossing. I don't know. I could be stupid, but I don't think so.
Trains don't really bother me here that much at all. Like I said a minute ago, I've lived by the tracks for so long, I'm used to them, I guess. And they're, the only thing I could say is that sometimes they park out here and idle all night, and they don't have to do that. That could be different. But other than that, I just see it as global commerce going by, and it doesn't really bother me much at all. I mean, sometimes I wake up to the whistle at night, but I turn over and go back to sleep again before the train's gone. It's no real issue. But I have lived beside the railway tracks other places too, and other times, and so I'm used to it, adapted to it, I guess. But, I don't know. I don't know what else I can say. I don't really have a problem with them, other than sitting out there idling all the time. That could be changed. There's something weird that I've noticed over the years walking down beside the railway tracks here, is that the CN train crews almost never wave, and the CP crews very often do. I have no idea why it is. It's just something weird, and I have no explanation for why or anything, but it's just an odd observation I've made over the years of walking beside the tracks and having the trains go by me. Why, I got no idea, but just one of those weird things I've noticed.
Hello, my name is James Kohut. I'm a landowner in Spences Bridge since 2007, and I've had some pretty nasty experiences from those trains that are hell on wheels. I did rent here for a little while, some years back, and during the night I was often woken up, deprived of sleep because of squealing train wheels, and also trains blowing whistles where they shouldn't be blowing whistles. Other countries around the world run quieter trains. Here in Canada, the railway companies are allowed to run trains that are not properly maintained. And the squealing sounds coming from the trains not only deprive people of sleep, but they harm hearing. I've had my hearing blown out in this field, which is located, I'm guessing about 350 or 400 meters, perhaps much more, from the railway. The trains squeal on the other side of the valley, going around corners, and sometimes the noise is so bad that it has actually harmed the hearing in my right ear for up to 2 weeks at a time. And the railways are essentially doing this on purpose. They've been told by me numerous times to stop this torturous activity. They basically seem to refuse as their actions continue. They are not improving the situation to make this area more livable. And the railways are externalizing costs onto the general public by not maintaining their railway. The costs externalized onto the public are healthcare costs from stress from the noise, hearing damage, sleep deprivation, etc. And also real estate values are affected by the railways here in Canada. People don't want to buy properties in the valleys where the railways are located because of the excessive externalized noise that they are creating. Also, tourism facilities are affected by the terrible noise the railways make. Who wants to come camping in a valley like this at the RV parks when they're being deprived of sleep at nighttime by squealing railway cars or excessive unnecessary whistle blowing by the trains? The economic impact from the squealing noises and other noises created by the railways probably is not measured, but I would assume could be in the area of billions of dollars across Canada. Who wants to golf next to a railway unless the rates are real cheap? Who wants to camp next to a railway? Not too many people. Who wants to buy real estate next to the railway because of their squealing railway trains. Not too many people. And I've written the Prime Minister of Canada about this to inform of his, to inform him of the what I consider illegal actions by the railways. And I've also informed various ministers of transportation. There has been no action. And the Prime Minister of Canada, along with the Minister of Transportation, are also legally liable for these railways and their noises, as they are not enforcing better standards for the operation of the railways. The Prime Minister can actually revoke the licenses of the railways if they don't clean up their act. But the Prime Minister will not do that. The railways would be better operated by the Government of Canada rather than some private corporation that is partly or majority owned by some foreign interests. Foreign interests do not care about Canadians. They want to earn a profit. They will do it any way they can. And one of the ways they're doing it is by externalizing costs onto the general public here with their poor, what I would consider poor maintenance programs. This has to stop if we want a better economy. And the railways should be nationalized once again so that a better service can be provided for the people and a much quieter service, and so that the economy along the railway can improve in valleys such as what we have here in BC, the Thompson River Valley, Fraser Valley, and right across Canada. It's time for change, and the only way I think it will change is if the people being affected by railway noises get together and basically get a class action lawsuit going against these railways. That's the only way they are going to listen, is if they lose money because of their actions. So Canadians should rise up and get a class action lawsuit going against the railway CEOs and shareholders, the institutions, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Minister of Transportation, and whoever else is responsible for the excessive noise. If Stephen Harper does not think he is responsible for the excess noise of the railways, he is wrong. Stephen Harper has to make change here if we're going to have a better economy. It's a win-win situation. You make the railways run quieter, tourism and other activities, economic activities will increase. And the people will be better off. And so will the government through the ability to raise more taxes on properties and in other ways by having these quieter railways.
Well, my experience with Spences Bridge has been rooted a lot in the history of it, because when we first moved here I was really interested in what had gone before, and this we're standing on the old bridge, which was a replacement bridge for the original bridge that Spence built, and this was a major crossing for the Caribou Gold Rush. And after that, major crossing for cars and the traffic that was going up through BC. So what I understand is up until the late 1800s, anybody that wanted to travel through here had to go by foot or mule team or stagecoach or whatever, boats, to get where they wanted to go. And we've read stories about the Smiths when they first came up here to run the big orchard that Murray started here. They were traveling from Scotland and they went overland to Vancouver, and they found out that the train company, I think it was probably CP, I'm not quite sure if it was CP or CN, but they were punching through the Fraser Valley, and they had gotten as far as Siska, which is just south of Lytton, and they were in the middle of building the bridge. So that was a big chance for them to travel some really gnarly terrain in a fairly easy way on the train. But then when they got to where they were just building the bridge, they had to sail over the Fraser River in a basket that was run over on a cable. And then when they landed on the Lytton side, they had to get on a stage to Spences Bridge, which took the better part of a day, I guess. So, you know, everybody was really excited about the trains punching through, and the last spike, which is just sort of north of Spences Bridge here, was a big deal because people could then travel this incredibly huge country, and the corporations that started the trains, I think they kind of sold it to the new Canadians and the native people as this is the way that they could carry bodies around. You know, they could carry people from one place to another in a lot safer and quicker way than it had ever been done before. So Spences Bridge eventually set up 2 train stations, one on either side of the river, and I guess CP was on this side, CN was on this side. They both had really nice big train stations, and there was always a crowd to receive people coming in, and a crowd of farewell people to see people off and on the big journeys that people would take. And it was really a huge change for everybody here to be able to get around rather than you know, just not bothering because they couldn't deal with the distances and the hardships of mules and horses and stagecoaches. So when the trains came in, it was kind of like there was something in it for everybody because they made the travel a lot easier. So I'm not sure when they stopped the passenger lines, but years ago, this was in the late 70s, early 80s, I was living on the coast, and somebody offered me a little cabin up near Lone Butte to stay in, and I stayed up there for a couple of winters just to get away from the coastal rains and live in the snow for the winter. And the way I got up there and back and forth was I caught the train from North Vancouver, and it went up around into, you know, up Howe Sound and where the Sea to Sky is now, and continued its way past Pemberton, you know, Squamish and Pemberton, and then up turning the corner at Lillooet and carrying on. And I love taking that trip because, well, you got the best scenery and you could just sit back and relax. And I noticed a lot of local people were taking advantage of it. I remember sitting beside an old native guy that was just so thrilled with seeing all the eagles that were gathering for the late fall salmon run, and it was a great ride. Anyway, I actually did the ride a couple of times from my little cabin up in the Caribou to the coast, just because I loved the train. And they were really passenger friendly in those days. They used to drop me off in a snowy field so that I could walk to my cabin rather than dropping me off in the town. And I just felt like it was just such a great service for any price. So eventually I think the two main train corporations moved most of their assets in a way that Americans bought in. I believe there's a Canadian-American flag logo on one of the train systems. I don't know about both of them, but they did a viability study, economic viability study, and they decided that it really wasn't worth their while to carry people. That moving a lot of freight was where it was at. So they slowly shut down the passenger services in various spurs, and they started with the furthest away ones, and I think they still have a few passenger services going on in the east, in the Toronto area. But BC's pretty much shut down for that. They've got the Rocky Mountaineer, which goes through. I don't know which train company owns that. As you see, I'm kind of confused about who owns what when we're talking about CN and CP, but the Rocky Mountaineer is basically catering to the rich people that can afford a luxurious train ride. We were told when we moved here that when we were checking up on schedules to see if we could hop the train to Vancouver, that we had to let them know ahead of time, and they would pick us up in Ashcroft at 1 o'clock in the morning or something. So, but we have seen the Mountaineer go through here during the day very slowly, so we just think, well, why couldn't they just stop and pick us up, even if it was just once a week, it would be great. But I guess the conclusion that I've come to about the trains here is that we get a lot of noise, we get a huge amount of toxic materials flowing through here, we have derailments, we've got a lot of stuff that we put up with, and there's really not a lot in it for us. I mean, if we had the passenger service, we could maybe overlook some of those things, but really the only benefit that we've been told is that the economy runs on moving these goods across the country by rail, and so we benefit in that way. But personally, I think that if they really cared about offering a good service to Canadians, so that we wouldn't be complaining so much about the noise and the toxic spills from the derailments and everything else, that they could sweeten it a little bit by maybe carrying us around like they used to. We've really lost a lot of the charming aspects of the trains here when we lost the passenger service. So that's where I stand with it. I'd like to be able to enjoy the train experience like a lot of people reminisce about, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I look at the pictures of the old stations and all the people that would meet the train, and I think that hearing the whistle off in the distance was probably a really good thing in those days. But nowadays they're just the whistles just say, "I'm coming, I'm loud, and get out of my way." So who wants to hear that?
noisy there.
Is there anything good about trains?
Nothing any good. Lots of pollution there. What's going to stay away.
Yeah.
Hello.
And you are?
I am my name there?
Yeah.
Matsumoto, Kenny. Live about 20 kilometers from here.
All right, Kenny. And yeah, I'm doing a little documentary about trains in Spences Bridge and just asking people what their experience is. I mean, you already expressed a lot of what your experience is, but maybe you have something else.
Actually, I grew up beside a train in Japan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gee.
Whoa.
That's air brake.
So you know all about that?
Yes, I know about that. My uncle both work in a railway there, and maintenance, everything there with the railway track. So we play around, actually chase there over there too. Make a fishing weight, put the top of the rail, piece of lead, then run over there and make flat. That's make it make the fishing weight there. With a bad one. Yeah. So this one is about railway.
Yep.
And what? Against the what?
No, whatever your experience is.
Oh.
It's really up to you.
I think better than truck, I understand. To the pollution point of view there. Transfer to all of Canada, coast to coast. If without the noisy, I think it should be more expanding too. Yeah, they're gonna be a lot of people move up. I see them on the truck and stuck there in highway trouble. I counting from Boston, but no, Hope to here, over 1,000 truck comes through, semi-truck. About what? Within an hour or something there, how many truck go in Vancouver? To, I think, food and all different kind of stuff there. So I think how much pollution they're gonna put out the truck there, diesel. But if train go, I think it's a great idea. That's all. I gotta hit the road.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Kenny.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
My name is Joe Thomas. I live in Spences Bridge in the Kalmasheen subdivision. On what they call the Kalmasheen subdivisions on the Nicola and the Thompson River. And right beside us is the train. Well, there's two trains on both sides of the river. One that usually goes north, one that usually goes south. And most of the issues and problems, they did say they had a survey done about maybe 3 years ago. And so we don't know what happened to that survey. It has been done with the band on a research project. I don't know who paid for that, but the bottom line is we never got any answers from it either. And they asked if we had any complaints or any health problems related to inside that survey. And we said we did. And none of them were addressed to date. So I believe it's longer than 3 years ago, but I'm just saying 3 years for now. The problem with the community and the lifestyle that's here is great. It's if the train wasn't there, it would be paradise. But because the train's there, I believe there's a bunch of related issues that everybody has to get along with. And the biggest one I see is that the community doesn't grow. It's in population, it continues to stay the same. And I think everybody has just come to accept the trains where they're at to an extent. I'm not saying fully, but because they don't want to move, they put a balance to it, and they have their own problems to deal with personally. But if you talk about the town and you talk about the band members in relationship to the train, the band has their own agreement in place, and the town has any of the economic benefits that come with the trains. And so there's various levels of problems that do exist, and nobody talks about them directly or indirectly. That's only between one to one maybe, and usually between neighbors, not as a community effort to stabilize a good relationship with the train. So I think there's an ongoing need to rectify what there is there. And where we go from here, I believe, needs to be addressed. And I don't know if the band's going to step forward. I don't know if the community's going to step forward. But I'm glad you're doing this to address it, because automatically there's a sense of that at least the issue's still alive, and which is good, because the problems of breathing, the coal dust that is evident in the air, has to be addressed. I shouldn't just say every day, but the best way to do it is say 24/7 is that there's trains. That's all. It's really, there seems to be more trains than car traffic going by, and that creates a big problem. One is access to the river for wildlife. Two, the safety of the communities that are here, the members, because there's a stress, I believe, that nobody talks about, and they end up getting it, and they unknowingly get it because they don't know how to address it, and the education to fulfill that, the relief of that stress, nobody knows how to talk about it. So again, that relationship needs to be fixed. And the train, I don't know who to talk to. I know there's an office in Kamloops, but there seems to be a problem there, and they address the community in a very negative kind of way, and they try to make it sound like that you're in the wrong even when you begin to discuss anything about it. And what I mean by that is, when I asked about the rail or the telephone poles that are just continuing, that has been laying along the railway on this side of the river, it's been there since they discontinued the use of those telephone poles, and they're just laying there. And so I asked to see if that can be addressed, and they said it's not my concern in a roundabout way. Is that they asked me why did I want to address it, and I says, well, we could actually make use of it somehow. You know, we could use it for some kind of project. It doesn't matter if it's to brace something up or make use of the log, but they said, well, we can't actually let you have it because there's a problem about policy and the insurance if something happens when you're using these poles. So I said, okay. And that's the last I've heard about it, but the poles are still here, and it's most likely about, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years it's been laying around. And they're still there. And they're all there from, I would believe, all the way to Lytton, these poles. And most likely all the way to Ashcroft, the other way, going north. So, catch-22 on who do you believe. That is only the poles and the use of whatever seems to be accessible. And there's, like I said, the noise of a train. It is constant. There's, you're saying there's 30 trains a day. Me, I say there's maybe more. After a while, it just seems more, even if there isn't more, because it's constant, and it doesn't happen during the day. It happens at night, and the trains blow their horns at night. And one time we counted it, it was 13 to 15 seconds. We Twice that one night when the train went by 2:30, give or take 2:30. We didn't look at the clock, but we knew it was after midnight. With like 15 seconds, just constant blowing, like 2:30 in the morning. That's ridiculous. Like, what the heck? And there's no roadway. There's no crossing right where they're blowing their horn. It's just directly right to your end, like right over here. So it's between the river and the crossing, and then they're right here. They're blowing, and it's loud. So it becomes bizarre because even though they blow it like that, Saturday mornings you wake up and you try to have a good time, and you rest and you want to sleep in a little bit. You have the windows open, fresh air, and lo and behold, that doesn't happen because number one, the train starts going by, and pretty soon it's like they blare their horns at the crossing. Even though there's like the crossing's a little ways down the road south of us, it's still loud here because it echoes anyway. So lo and behold, you have that horn blowing over there at the crossing, then right here at the community they blow again. So 3 trains Saturday morning, one after another, damn near. It seemed like it, because when you fall asleep a little bit, it does seem like it's one after another. And so it frustrates you, and you end up getting out of bed because there's no way that you're going to be able to sleep beyond that now. Like, you can't get a full rest out of it. So you get up back again out of bed in the morning on Saturday instead of sleeping in and enjoying your sleep. And we tried to do that several times, and it's really noticeable in the summertime, and it's no good. So the trains that are going south are just, you still can hear it even though it's across the other side of the river. It's constant, and they do blow their horn too, and it does echo in the middle of the night when there's no traffic and there's no wind or anything. It does echo, and it's a fairly loud echo, and we get the repercussions of it here in the community. And so lo and behold, it does seem quiet to an individual that's going through town. It does look like a quiet community. It does look like a small, nice community, and the bottom line is they don't know why it's staying small. It's the trains. And so what does that do? Well, I see properties never going for sale, and that means the value of the properties don't rise any more than what it is. And there's a few community private residence properties that have been up for sale for a while now, and they don't sell, and it'll be a while before somebody buys it. And lo and behold, like I said, the population doesn't grow; it stays constant. There's a variable there that stays constant, and it's only because when they realize there's a stress called the trains that go through the town both ways, and after a while it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense why this is never being addressed. So I don't know how many employees that work for the trains, either CN or CP. It doesn't matter. We need to find out which ones or both and see how we can be able to come to some kind of consensus on this and develop a better report to where we can make it a viable, maybe economical benefit for the community somehow. Because everybody tries to do something and wants to live here, but they can't because this constant BS of noise and pollution and too many trains. And when I say too many trains, what I mean by that is one day we came across the tracks and we were sitting on the other side, the opposite side of the crossing there here in Kamasheen, just down the road, and we sat there waiting for the train to go by. And the train, we looked south, still coming around the corner. We looked north, it's already gone around the corner. This is the same train, it's all connected together. So lo and behold, there's too long of a train, and we missed our appointment on the phone with my lawyer because I was doing a residential school phone conference on the telephone, so we missed that. And lo and behold, when we got on the phone, it was said and done with. And I was the last person to talk on there because there was a group of us doing a conference call. So I ended up my impact of my statement was missed. So lo and behold, there's things like that happen with long trains. And to the rest of the community, they don't care about it. But to me, it meant something because it was a court case. So yeah, there needs to be something done totally about the overall policy structure, or the inevitably take one train out. Take one train out. It doesn't matter. It goes on both sides of the river, and it stresses out the fish most likely. I know that because, like I said, if we're affected by the black coal dust here, and what do you think it does to the river? Because it runs the full length of the river right from the coast all the way up. And so there's black coal dust continuously going into the river, but nobody ever talks about that. They just say, well, it only impacts them when they go by it. But the thing is, for the full length of the river, if you count that in, and they're swimming up it, then there's a problem. There's a pollution there that nobody talks about. So yeah, now there's wildlife access, like if you talk about deer, elk, or black bears or whatever, when they cross the tracks, nobody knows how many gets killed because they need water too, and they need to get to it. Bears and animals don't have an understanding towards signs or the noise of the train or anything else, or the choo-choo noise. They just react naturally. So there's a problem there. And we need to be able to come to some kind of consensus of how many wildlife get killed because of the trains. And everybody talks about poachers. There's a sign right here near Kamasheen talking about poachers. But the thing is, the train, how many trains kill it? You know, like one train may kill 10 deer. Nobody talks about that. So we need to be able to come to some kind of understanding of what we need to do about it. Like sometimes the trains go too fast. Maybe they're too long. Maybe they want to do their job, sure, but the bottom line is all of the above what I mentioned needs to be addressed totally, not mentioned just for the sake of being mentioned. It needs to be addressed, and we need to put indicators in place to address these so we can see the population of the deer come back up again, or the elk, or the black bears, or whatever it may be, even coyotes, because they're part of the ecosystem. So what we need to do is come to some kind of like true understanding and true talk about it, not hearsay, like just to say, well, we'll put it in policy, and then that's the end of the question. That doesn't fix it, because if the coyote family is in let's say between near Nickaman or whatever it may be, and their family of coyotes start to become less, that doesn't mean it fixed the problem. That means something was wrong there. Something killed part of that family. And we need to look at it, and we need to come to some kind of agreement, because the Ministry of Forest says, well, the railway is not their problem. And the railway says, well, the Ministry of Forest is not their problem. Wildlife says the same thing. Same with the fisheries. So there's no left hand talking to the right hand kind of thing. So we need to come to find out how we can fix this and make it a lot better. And the general public gets whitewashed all the time, so they have a less understanding of why there's depopulation of wildlife in the area all the time. So yeah, it needs to be addressed. Thanks.
enough here since then. I enjoyed the trains. In fact, I really enjoyed the trains when they went, was the Kettle Valley, when they went up the Merritt Highway. It's too bad they took all that out, but that was in 84, I believe it was, or 84, 85. They took that out. I wish they would have left it in. It would have been a nice tour for everybody to go from Spences Bridge all the way to Kettle Valley. I don't mind the whistles here. I miss them when I go away. I miss the trains when I go away. So I've always enjoyed trains. I've had trains when I was a kid. My grandson's got my train. So
Hi, my name's Ray Nigalis, and I'm the owner of the Inn at Spences Bridge. We're 150 years old this year, so we predate the railway. Although we do have, this is the quintessential Canadian experience. It's a Caribou Gold Rush hotel, less than 100 feet away from the CPR main line. And, well, trains are a reality here. They run 24 hours a day. There's 25 a day each way. They're noisy, they're big, they make the ground shake, they make you stop talking. And other than that, it's a connection to the rest of the world. It's very easy for it to live in a small community like this and become rather insular in your outlook. We're tucked into a nice little, beautiful little valley here with hills and mountains on all sides. So it's easy to forget that there's a world outside of this particular spot, and the train is a constant reminder that just around the bend, the world exists beyond just what you can see from here. And that's pretty much my take on the train, other than the fact that they're big, they're noisy, and there's an allure to it. There's a certain attraction. It's funny because there's an awful lot of people that stay here that are closet train spotters. And you can, it's funny because we'll show people the rooms at the front with the balconies and point out that you're very up close and personal to the railroad there, right? And it's amazing how many people actually take those rooms so that they can be and, you know, see the railroad and, you know, count how many cars there are on the trains. And especially for the Europeans, this is a huge lure because, you know, they see a freight train in Europe of 40 cars and this is going to take forever. And then they come here and count trains with over 200 cars on them. You know, it's quite impressive. And it's also, the thing that I like about the railroad is that it gives you a sense of how the economy is doing without, before even the people who own the companies know how they're doing, because you can see what goes by here, what moves, what's not moving this year that moved last year, and so you get a real sense of how this country is doing and what it is that you know, our major exports and things like that. Like over the last few years, all the new rolling stock has been to carry coal, and probably half the trains that go by here now are coal trains. And it used to be grain trains where the grain was the main commodity being moved along here. And it's probably slipped a second to coal. From what I understand, the containers are, a lot of the ones heading towards the coast are carrying raw logs. And obviously the ones coming eastbound are all carrying manufactured goods, you know, from Asia. But yeah, other than that, if you're coal mining, things are going really, really good for you. You know, what's the difference between living next to a railway track and living in the downtown of a city and having that constant barrage of traffic and buses and police and ambulance and fire trucks going by all the time? You know, that's as much an assault on your ears as the trains are. At least with the trains, you get this big noise, and then it's gone. Yeah. And it's not going to be back for a while, you know, and it's not like they run once an hour or anything like that. There'll be 4 or 5 trains in a row, and then there won't be any for another 4 or 5 hours. Everything will just shut down and be very, very quiet. So it's only when they're shunting out here that it gets really, really noisy, and even that, I don't even flinch when the cars bang anymore. And when I lived in Toronto, if I had heard that kind of noise, I'd be under a desk somewhere, under a doorway, you know, anything, right? You know. But yeah, here it's like when they're doing that, it's like explosion after explosion after explosion of noise. So, and they'd like to do that at 3 o'clock in the morning, and only when the hotel is full.
I'm sitting in my house, my little house, which has quite the history to it of being near the train tracks. Actually, it was here prior to trains. It was a writing cabin for James Tate, the person who wrote so much about the Thompson Indians in this area. And also, it was a stagecoach stop over for the drivers of the stagecoach when it was coming through. And then later when the trains were built and came through, for a short time this little building was the Ticketmaster's ticket office, where people came and bought their tickets to get on the train. And who knows what all has happened in this little place, but I'm here now. I did come here originally for peace and quiet, and for a good place to unwind from urban stress and job stress and health stresses. So this was my healing cabin and healing landscape. When I first saw this place, there were no trains going by on the first visit, when I noticed this little place was for sale. And then on meeting the real estate person the second time, a train did go by, and I was quite surprised because it was so close and so rumbly. And it also blew a whistle. So the real estate person said, oh, she had no idea how often the trains went by. Not very much, she thought, but yeah, definitely close to the tracks. But the price was right and the weather was fantastic. It was lilac time. The air was filled with the scent of lilacs, and the sun was spectacularly beautiful, sending beautiful light through the area. And this was a little cabin, inexpensive as far as real estate goes, which I do understand a bit better why. So anyway, I moved in. I wasn't going to move in. I moved stuff up to the garage, and I was going to maybe just come on weekends. But on possession date, I actually moved right in, never moved out. So a lot of my being here was intuitive and unpredictable to me, but at the same time felt totally right. Shortly after I got here, the train companies completed their deal to share the tracks. So the south-going train track, which is right opposite my place, very quickly filled up with, maybe it felt like double the train volume, because now they didn't have to wait for trains to come north and then send a train south. It meant everything could just whoosh down south, one after the other. And the trains on the tracks on the opposite side of the river could all whoosh up north, one after the other. So I was really grappling with the intrusion and the shock of hearing train whistles all the time and hearing the rumbling on the tracks and feeling my house shake. The house would start to vibrate before I would even hear that a train was coming. So friends, as kind of a joke, whenever they came, brought lots of earplugs, and I started using earplugs as a matter of course for the first year and a bit, and chose to sleep in the back room of the house to be able to get through the night without waking up and having difficulty getting back to sleep. And then I guess the brain did its thing, because I slowly started to not notice that trains were coming, or not notice in the same way. It didn't feel like a jolt to the central nervous system that a train was zooming by. Something in my brain was selectively screening that out. Although I still felt like it was there impacting me, but I was not registering it as a kind of defense or adaptation.
Jackson, it's Brenda Land calling with Canadian Pacific and Community Connect. We received your call in regarding noise level at our yard there in Spences Bridge. Just wanted to let you know I talked to the manager of track in the area, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. It is a yard, and it can be noisy at times. Sometimes the noise might seem louder than usual, but there was nothing out of the ordinary going on. If you have any further questions or comments, feel free to call or email back at community_connect@cpr.ca. Thanks very much. Bye now. End of messages.
Do you want to say more about that?
The loudest noise that I've ever heard, it not only disrupted me. I was outside at the time, and it sounded like a derailment. I went out on the street to look. I saw the conductor way down the end of the yard, and it was the first bang that caught my attention, but about the second or the third one, it was just incredible. And my neighbor down the road also thought it was a derailment, and she's lived here beside the tracks since 1969. And it concerned her too. I never phone and complain. I hear lots of noise, and I was very disappointed when I got that message. Unfortunately, I was out, but it was very disrupting. The whole house shook, plus I know my neighbor's house shook, and I feel that the engineers at times are in a hurry, and they don't seem to want to slow down and make the shuttering less. And I understand the cars are empty, but this chap on that particular day, it was totally uncalled for, and that's the way I feel. I live directly across from the CN crossing, which of course both railways travel on going westbound, and in the last few months, I've noticed that there's been a little less whistling, perhaps because of a lot of complaints that have been made. But unfortunately, it seems to be that some engineers seem to get a thrill of laying on the whistle, right at the old bridge in Spences Bridge and come wailing through town with that going on, and absolutely nobody's over at the crossing. I have a perfect view of it. There's nobody along the track, no cars parked along the track, and they keep whistling right past the crossing, which and probably going another I don't know, maybe 800 yards for I'm not sure how far. And sometimes they idle there all night with their diesel fumes smoking up the town, and they have no consideration. They should be taking their engine, splitting it at the crossing, and taking it way down past town where nobody lives. And then perhaps that would not bother anyone. And then, but I believe that that perhaps the conductor, or they're just too lazy to walk back and separate these trains. And like I say, as I've noticed that a few engineers seem to have been pretty good lately, but there are some really bad ones, and there's no reason at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to come through Spences Bridge with the whistles going from one end to the other. It disturbs absolutely everybody, whether or not they like to admit it or not. I've lived here since 1980, and back then trains were, most of the people that lived here were involved with CP or CN. I love trains. I'm not a constant complainer. I've only perhaps complained 2 or 3 times, and since 1980, and but I'm particularly concerned about the shunting on the CP side here, and I believe that's an engineer's fault. I believe they're in a hurry, or the conductor isn't walking down the track and supervising things, and it is bad, and it seems to be Friday nights, Saturday, Sunday mornings, which is very disturbing. It's disturbing at any time to be so loud, but why is it in the middle of the night? I just don't know. And I think that the train, I don't understand why the train whistles cannot be moderated, that they could turn them down or and up as they see something on the track. And for years I lived in West Vancouver before I lived here. I regularly go down and visit my parents, and it seems to me that the trains that run through Ambleside out to Horseshoe Bay, which is CN now but was BC Railway before, and my parents lived right on the water, right above the track, and they certainly weren't screaming whistles through there. And is it because that they're a wealthy community? I don't know. But I think CP should look into this, and I know there's a lot of other communities like us that really feel the same way we do. And I hope you do pay attention to us in some way and communicate with us on it.
Hello, my name is Kalel, and I'm 12 years old. Sometimes when I come up here, it's just hard to fall asleep because I'm just waiting for train after train to come by. It just keeps me up.
So you like to photograph trains. I hear that you have a little camera and you've actually placed it right on the track.
Yes, I like doing underside views. Oh, I have a YouTube account if you want to check out some of my videos. I've posted on one of my underground videos before.
What's your address?
K Trains. It's the K and the T are all capitals and the rest is lowercase. Some CN units, they'll have a horn for a specific type of engine, and the other type will have a different kind of horn. And Ray told me about CP. There's this Ray up in that Spences Bridge. Ray told me about this that CP that there's this horn manufacturer in Montreal. So then every horn sounds different on every type of CP, every CP locomotive. So then you can tell what number it is just by the horn on a CP unit. Whenever I see a CP train, I try to listen to the horn to see if I actually know what number it is and the distance, but I'm not that good at telling a number apart yet, so I know a few numbers. Like a few units that I see regularly, I can recognize the horn, but if it's like something that I don't usually see, it's kind of hard to know. So, the favorite thing I've done up here was take the train through here. Actually, I took the Rocky Mountaineer through here, and this was before I actually stayed up here. I was 6 when I took the train. I was 7 when I first came here. So that was 2007 that I first came here. So, like I said before, it's been really fun coming here. Just for summer and stuff. Also, you can probably guess the job I want to do when I grow up. Be an engineer.